Damn.
Chug, chug, chug,
Well,
chug.
at least you didn't pour that much here. So
I got the bubbles. Why? Because this month we're talking about champagne closings and canceled contracts. So stay tuned.
Oh my God!
hey everybody, welcome to this month's episode of the Closing Time podcast with Jimmy B and
Annie-O.
And this month, we are going to talk about celebrating champagne wins
Yes.
and surviving heartbreaking losses.
Yes.
All right, in this segment, we are titling it Pop the Bubbly. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour some champagne and enjoy it throughout the rest of our episode. But what we're going to do is each of us is going to share a real estate story. It could be true or it could be false. The other one who is not sharing has to guess whether it is true or false. And if they guess that it was true and it was true, then the person telling the story has to chug their champagne glass. If it was false, and vice versa. Make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. I don't even know if I said that right, but you guys get the picture. So with that, let's pop the bubbly.
All right, here we go.
Do not aim that at me.
Oh, come on. Why not?
Oh boy. Now, for those of you watching, I'm making her do this because usually it's a struggle.
I could do this. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I haven't practiced recently, but
You're pushing it towards me?
no, I'm going up. Why do you have to look like that?
Woo!
I did it!
Opa!
That was like
Is that what you
so
say?
pretty cool. That wasn't even that hard. Pff, I'm a pro. I'm so pro.
Yeah, let's fill these babies up.
All right.
Get this out of the way.
So, first off, even trying to think of something that I haven't already told you in the past where you would instantly know if it was true or not was a hassle.
That's fair. We do tell each other pretty much everything.
Right? So, I mean, it took me a minute and everything, but I did come up with one. This was a rehab I was doing. So, it was a flip. I haven't told you too many of those. So
No,
I figured,
you have not.
Right. So, I figured this would be a good one.
Okay,
So I bought a property that was over in Carrollwood for the sole purpose of flipping it. And so we went into it. I obviously would take the kids with me and they would help clean it up and everything because it was definitely in like rough shape. It was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and I wanted to convert it to a 4-bedroom. And so it was a 2-story house. And so with all this, happening, it was like, okay, how do we stick in this extra bedroom that needed to be up on the top floor? Had to pull permits, go through all that. We added the extra square footage to the home. And with that, we were able to do like this whole new porch balcony area. And we did a triple slider going out to the backyard that overlooked the pool. So we got all that stuff done. And then I did one of those faux pas where as you're like in the renovation and everything, you start falling in love with the house. And I started envisioning and wanting to live there myself. And I was like, okay, I can do this. We can do this. So then as I started the renovations moving forward, I was taking them from the perspective of me living in the house. So instead of looking at like the more lower grade or like standard granite, I was looking at the nicer ones or the slightly thicker ones that eat into a profit margin. So all this to be said, get done with the house, and I am about $60,000 over my budget that I had made. And I did not, in fact, move into the house because I found a better house that I actually wanted to move into. So the moral of the story is that I did a renovation, a flip, that I fell in love with, and I spent way too much money. And when it came time to sell it, I lost $45,000.
that was a very detailed and intricate story. I was trying to watch your eye patterns to see if you were lying or not, but I could not tell.
Is it true or is it fake?
I'm going to say bullshit. Oh, right. This is called true or false. False.
That story is 100% true.
Damn.
Chug, chug, chug,
Well,
chug.
at least you didn't pour that much here. So, cheers.
Now I'll take a sip because I just want to taste it.
At least you got good champagne. Or decent champagne.
Right?
You want to fill me up some?
Of course,
and
of
then
course.
I'll go ahead and
Tell your story.
tell me my story. I'll say it while you're pouring it.
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right, so my story, whether true or false, is that there was one time where I was working a lead when I was on a team, and the name of a lead that came in I recognized because it was a football player. And for those of you that do not know, Jimmy B is an avid NFL football
Yep.
player, not soccer football, not college football, but NFL football. Yes, I follow it very avidly. Go Broncos. Had to
Love
throw that
that.
in there. We'll say go Bucks too, but go Broncos. If they play each other in the Super Bowl, Broncos all day. Just had to say that.
Second that.
So anyway, this lead came in, and I recognized the name. It was a rookie because it was around the draft time. It was in the spring.
Okay.
And I called, said lead, and, they actually picked up the phone, and I said, hey, is this so-and-so? I'm not going to mention the name. And they said, yeah, I play football. And I was like, okay, cool. What are you looking for? Long story short, he wanted to find a rental, and I don't usually do rentals. And I was like, hey, whatever, you're a football player, let's go. So I went and I get this house ready for him, and when he was about to show up, I see a car speed down the road very, very fast. And he ended up not showing up to the showing. And I was very upset and distraught because I love football. So I went home because I was very upset that he didn't show up. And I turned on the news, and I see that said football player was accused of some very bad misconduct that I don't want to get further into.
So you're saying you potentially had a famous football player as a client.
Right. And
But
then
you're blaming that he didn't show up because of some news story.
correct.
So you never met the football player.
I don't know. You tell me.
So that's kind of that's a big, Paul Bunyan style, tall tale. It is.
All right.
why?
True or false? True or
That's
false?
crazy.
Champagne's getting warm here.
I'm going to say false. There's no way you had a chance at a football player.
You're wrong. It's true.
What?
True story.
What?
I'm not gonna say the player's
For
name
real?
out of respect, because
No way.
no, it's true. I ended up I got to the house. I was very excited. I opened it all up. Chug your champagne, by the way. And
Bottoms up.
I got all the lights on and the door, everything open, and then I literally opened the front door because he was running about 5 minutes late. And I just see this black SUV fly down the road, and I was like, "Oh man!" And I was all disappointed. And I had bragged to all my friends, my buddies who were
Right?
football fans, that I was, showing this particular person a house or houses, and my one friend, not knowing that this football player ghosted me and whatever, texted me out of the blue when I got home and said, OMG, did you see so-and-so just got accused of this? And I was like, get that. Oh, wait, he didn't show up. That makes a lot of sense. So then I literally went on ESPN.com, actually. I just went on, whatever, because that's where I got most of my sports news at the
Right.
time. And it was the headline.
Wow.
So-and-so was accused of bad stuff. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. So I texted him, and I said, hey, man, I just saw the news. I know you have a lot going on in your life right now, and I'm sure buying or renting a house is not in the forefront of your mind. I'm sure there's two sides to every story. I wish you the best in figuring this out, and I am here whenever you are ready.
That's nuts.
And what's really cool about this story is he actually texted me 2 days later.
Huh.
And he said, hey, man, I just want to let you know that through all this turmoil, you were the only person that was nice to me.
Aww.
You were the only person that didn't judge me. You're the only human being on this planet who, like, he's like, I ghosted you on an appointment, and he's like, I felt terrible, and you were just like, take care of business, and I'm here. And he's like, I really appreciate that, so I want you to help me find a house. And I did. It wasn't like a really big commission check, because he didn't buy like a $2 million house. He was a rookie. He was on a rookie contract. So the really good part about this story with said football player was, when he did reach back out to me to ask for my assistance, the dust had cleared, everything had cooled. They actually proved and found out that the accusations against him were completely made up, completely false, and just wanted to target a football player who just signed with a very prolific team. So it was really, really a good ending.
Right. Best one he could hope for.
Yeah. And it was cool. I showed him a couple of houses. I got to meet his family. And then I've been following his football career ever since. So, true story.
That's super cool. Yeah, I really thought you were just BSing to be like, yeah, I was going to like totally be the agent for a famous football player. And okay.
No.
Well, you got me.
Unfortunately, I have not had the pleasure of working with any
high-profile clients?
Not yet. We'll get there. Now that we're doing the closing time with Jimmy B and Annie O podcast,
if you're watching,
we're going to get famous. So,
and we will gladly help you with all your real estate needs. Any A+ clients, for sure. High profile, I'm down. I could do that.
All right. Well, that concludes this segment called Pop the Bubbly. And next, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of our podcast.
That was the positive side. Now we're actually going to share some of the not so positive, like the one that got away, or the deal that didn't happen.
The wins versus the heartbreaks.
Ooh,
Stay tuned for that one.
All right, so the main topic that we wanted to bring up, even though we were talking about celebrations, is the one that got away. The deal that we thought we had didn't work out or pan out, and I'm kind of grateful we can talk about it like this, because mine I'm still like angry about in what happened. So I'll give you a little bit of background. This was for a mobile home park, so it was much more of a commercial property. There were, I think, 25 mobiles on this plot of land. We had it listed. We met with the seller, to talk about listing it, how much each of these units are worth. They are being currently rented, so we had a whole pro forma done, the P&L based on like everything and how it was operating. And that was like a good 2-hour just meeting, like verifying all this information and who is like collecting the rent rolls, property management, all this stuff with this building or structure and the whole like plot of land, because it was almost 3 acres of land too, with all these mobiles on it, and there was like 2 actual single family houses. Go through all this stuff, we get it, we start, I actually go to the mobile home park, we take photos, we got all this stuff done, and then like a week later we get it online. So now we're like jazzed, we're excited, we came up with a price. Within 2 weeks, we had a full price offer, cash.
How much was the park?
I think we're at 1.2 million at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, because this is an older one. I mean, this thing probably be at like $7 million now. But at the time, yeah, it was 1.2. The main reason being too was that even though there were some units that were being rented and everything.
Was it more than that?
What? Maybe 1.9? I don't remember.
Well, for context, I know that the commission lost on this was close to $250,000. I know there's no way we charge 25%.
No, we
do
didn't
not.
Charge 25%.
So I thought it was closer to $5 million.
No, it wasn't that.
2.5 million?
Maybe. I have to go pull out a calculator.
Either way, it was a big one. Our potential commission on this, I just want to emphasize to our viewers.
Yeah,
it was almost $250,000.
Right. Yeah, so whatever, okay, we're talking like almost 10 years ago.
You're right.
So
You're right.
Whatever the price is, like I don't actually remember right now.
I got you.
But no, well, even the rate of like commission, because of like the work and everything, we did do a higher rate.
Agreed.
Just because of that. So, I mean, that part plays into this too. So we did all this back end. We get everything ready. The property itself, some of the units were in disrepair and like could not be habitable and stuff. So we would also need a buyer that could go in and like, either demolish those, pull them out, renovate, things like that. So for us to get a cash buyer and accepting at full price offer was phenomenal. We go to send the paperwork over to the seller, and the seller ghosts us basically. all of a sudden he won't take our calls, he won't answer, like, which is really weird and suspicious and fishy. And then we're like, okay, hold on. So now we have this buyer going, hey, are we moving forward? You know, because the clock starts the second you get that offer, especially at these price points. Like you can't just like stall. You need to get answers definitive, because if you're not going to give them what they want, you know, they can always go somewhere else. So we're trying everything. It ends up like I had co-partnered this with another agent. And so, you know, we give them all the information. We actually have like the paperwork, all of the contract and everything. And we're like, just go to the seller's actual house and place, like we started at his office. He wasn't there. So then we went to his house and everything. He found him there and we started talking and everything. And basically the seller is like backpedaling, saying, just kidding. He doesn't actually want to sell and all this, which, you know, takes us back because we had a whole conversation. What do you mean you don't want to sell? Like, why not? And everything. Like, basically, he was refusing to sign the offer because at the end of the day, find out he actually didn't want to sell. He just wanted to get an idea of like what the price was for the property. So that way he knew what he was working with. And if he ever, like, he really wanted to sell it for sale by owner. But here's the thing. Because our marketing efforts did produce an actual cash buyer, you know, at full list price and everything, we're like, okay, well, we understand, like, we can't force anybody not to sell their property. But there are legal ramifications to this because we signed a contract saying we were going to do this for you. And in that event, like, you owe us for our marketing efforts and everything like that. And he was refusing to pay. And that's where it got hairy. So, like, we actually had to hire an attorney to go to court for us. And because of like how the actual offer was written, they definitely went back and forth. They actually had to go to arbitration on this whole thing. And we're talking like, what, 6 months at least of timing between the seller saying, no, just kidding, I'm not going to sell. And then, you know, 2 days later, the buyer withdrew, obviously, the offer because there was no property for them to buy. And then taking all of this evidence to court to take the seller to court about this whole thing and process, and then going through the arbitration process, like, it was not fun. So needless to say, we didn't get that money.
Yeah, you can, we can drink to that. So yeah, guys, our job is not all glitz and glamour. There's a lot of stress we have to deal with, and I don't want you guys to think too that we don't just go out and try to sue people and do that kind of stuff.
No.
When a lot of people don't realize when it comes to real estate that we do deal with legally binding and legal documents and contracts. Like, if you sign an agreement with a realtor to work with them to sell your home, to help you buy a home, you're signing a legally binding contract, just like if you're working with a doctor who's doing surgery on you or an attorney who's representing you in a case. Like, you know, there's a lot of work involved. And if we perform on our end, even if, you know, you change your mind at the last minute, you know, a contract's a contract.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, that was a hard one. I remember that one.
We had to go through.
I could tell you're still a little upset about that one. Because we did our job. I get it.
That's the part, I guess, that's so painful for me. Isn't like, I've unfortunately lost clients because for what, like, even though we've done all the marketing efforts, like the buyers and the price, like, it just doesn't match up, right? And that I can handle more than anything because at the end of the day, we can't control that. But to actually deliver and be like, hey, you asked for this, here it is, X, Y, like laid out in writing and everything, and then be like, no, just kidding, thanks for wasting, you know, your time. That's where I'm like, are you for real? Like, I hate that there's people out there like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have to deal with them all.
Yeah. Mine is a little different. So yours was more of a commercial transaction. Mine was, my story on the one that got away was the ones that got away. It was a 2-for-1, and it actually was very, very recent in the last actually year. I got referred a seller who also wanted to buy in my backyard, right where I wanted to work. I was really excited about it. I met with the guy, and basically he wanted to purchase new construction. He wanted to live a little bit further north than where he's at now, and he wanted to downsize essentially. One of his kids was going off to college. The other one was starting, I think, middle school, so like a different type of school.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were just ready for a change. They had a pool home. They didn't really use the pool. So, you know, they just wanted something a little bit easier, right? And the overall goal was to save money.
Okay.
So I met with this gentleman and his family, And I took them and we saw the new construction home. They loved it. They signed the contract on it. And, it was their dream home. They wanted to live there for the foreseeable future. There was no plan on ever not living there. And we had to sell their current home in order to make it work. Now, since it was new construction and the ground hadn't even been broken yet, he was one of the very first people in the community to buy in there. We had time. I had about 6 months or so to get his home sold. Now, his home to sell was a pool home in an area where traditionally, especially in the COVID and post-COVID market, that pool homes would sell within a day, not a lot of inventory, and they would sell for almost $100,000 more than non-pool homes.
Right.
So when I looked at the comps and the data, and you looked at this one with me, you know which one I'm talking about.
I do.
Hey, please top me off.
Yep.
I had come up with a price, and the seller agreed with me for the most part on the price. And I was very confident, and I told him, I'm like, hey, we might sell this property in a week, and your house ain't gonna be ready for 6 months. Do you have a place to go? Oh yeah, no problem. I'm gonna go rent an Airbnb and live on the beach until it's done. Life is good.
I like that plan. That's
awesome.
a cool plan.
Yeah. And then, but right before we listed it, his daughter had the bright idea of maybe wanting to list it for more money. And I looked at the data and I was like, you know what? I don't think it's worth that much, but there's no inventory. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
That was a mistake, and that was on me. I should not have let that happen. And we listed the property, and I literally got no traction. He had asked me about doing open houses and things like that, and I was like, honestly, in this area, open houses really don't actually sell the home. It's more for realtors pulling leads, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he agreed. He didn't really want people trampling through his house anyway. Cool. So we market the hell out of the property. It's getting tons of views, tons of saves, but I have no showing requests. 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by, a month goes by, no showings. Mind you, we're under contract on this house somewhere else.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. So after about 2 months of little to no activity, he started getting a little antsy, which rightfully so. And he reached out to me, and we reevaluated everything, and we started doing a series of price drops. We went low, and then lower, and then lower. And I started this property at $625, and I ended up 4 or 5 months later at $530, $535.
Oof.
Yeah, it was rough. And I still could not even get an offer. No one would write an offer on the home. I did open houses every single Saturday and Sunday for 3 months straight. Myself and some of the agents that work with us helped me out with that. We door knocked the neighborhood. We canvassed the neighborhood with flyers. We did mailers. I mean, social media, you name it, we pulled out all the stops. And ultimately what happened was we got down to the nitty-gritty where he needed to close on the home by a certain date, and I still didn't have it under contract. And he was calling me every single day for about 3 weeks straight. And I could not get the man off the phone for less than a 45-minute conversation. And it was just more of him being frustrated. He was repeating himself a lot.
Right.
It really wasn't a productive phone call, as we went on. And it started to stress me out. I'm sure you remember this.
Yeah.
It was really affecting me personally because, I just couldn't deal with this client anymore because there was only so much I could do or control. I can't force buyers to make offers on houses. I can't force buyers to buy a home.
Right.
The marketing was there. The views were there. All the data showed we did our job, but we didn't because I didn't get him a buyer. So ultimately what happened was after a lot of heartache and a lot of stress, he ended up having to cancel the new construction home. Mm-hmm. He lost his $10,000 deposit on that home. And then we ended up canceling the listing, which I had spent quite a hefty amount of money, marketing,
Right.
time is money. You're talking probably way more than what I would have made at that point after all the hours and work that were put in. And, he was really, disappointed because he really wanted to do this for his family. And that one was really hard for me. And it had nothing to do with the fact, I know you were really upset about yours because that was a lot of money and you did your job.
Right,
that was more of a
yeah.
transactional transaction. Like it was a
Yeah, it
business
was.
decision, investor.
It was very much
Mine
so.
was more of a personal one, and this guy really wanted to do this for his family. So it kind of shook me a little bit because I feel like I was responsible because he hired me to do a job. And at the end of the day, full transparency, I didn't get it done. So that one hurt a little bit. Was not really concerned about the money because at the end of the day, there's always other deals out there. There's always other ways to make money. But the fact that I wasn't able to help him accomplish his goals in the time that he wanted to do it really sucked.
Right. Now, okay. Let's unpack this a little because you talked about a lot of stuff in that. You're talking 5-6 months worth of stuff. Talking about the price adjustments, talking about the reductions and everything. Like you did mention like you talked almost to like a daily basis at the end, but I was there, so I know, but like you were very on top of it in terms of communication the entire time and suggesting price adjustments. But like even when all this and he was frustrated and you were telling him about, hey, like the buyers aren't here, like how was that part of the experience?
It was just really, really hard. I felt like he felt that I was making excuses the entire time because I kept telling him, like, listen, we are literally the cheapest pool home that's move-in ready in the entire zip code.
Right.
And it's a big zip code. And he was even the cheapest in the zip code across the street. 2 of the biggest zip codes in northern Tampa, in Land O'Lakes and Lutz.
Yep.
And nobody wanted it. And I kept getting feedback that the home was dated. Well, ironically, the home was built in 2020.
Right.
But he chose finishes that were from like 2010.
It was all the builder grade, if I remember, like the basic builder grade. But
it was also the browns and like the cherry woods, like that patterns where now everything's whites, grays, and blues.
True.
And most of the demographic, which is young families that live in this area, they want those model-looking colors, which are the whites, grays, and blues. And unfortunately, his home didn't have that. And I kept trying to tell him, like, that's the feedback I'm getting. But then he thought I was crazy. And then one random person that he knew came in and was like, oh, I love the finishes here.
So, of course, then that was
so
every buyer.
Then he thought I was full of shit.
Right.
And then, at the end, he just, like, he was raw with me. He's like, you didn't get the job done and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't really have much to say. It was hard. It was really the biggest kick in the nuts in my professional real estate career was that particular transaction.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, being your partner and everything, you took that one very personally, way more personally than I felt like you should have, because I saw you, I watched you, like I helped coach you with a lot of that in particular one, and I'm like, you're doing everything, but he also, like, the devil's advocate, he didn't listen to a lot of the suggestions you were telling him. When you had multiple people telling him his place looked dated, he didn't want to hear it. And then when you were saying, okay, like, let's drop the price so that way we can make this all happen, he's like, no, I can't, I'm not dropping the price. Like, you went through a ton of numbers. You went through like, hey, if we sell it at this price on this side, but you're getting this other, like, you were very analytical, like showing him all of this stuff, but at the same time, he wasn't receptive to it. And that's the part where, like, I understand, like, you beat yourself up and you do feel responsible, but you can't be responsible for their actions and their choices either.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And, at this point, we're about a month to 2 months-ish.
Yeah, of that.
About, say, a month, say 6 weeks removed from that particular transaction. This is very, very fresh, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I feel bad about a lot of it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the cool part is that actually segues us into our next segment, which is this month's Coach's Corner.
Yes.
And we are going to be talking about how to survive these heartaches when transactions don't go the way that you want them to go.
Absolutely.
And how to really bounce back from that and just keep trucking along.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. That's coming up next.
Now it's time for Coach's Corner, where you learn not to be a little real estate bitch.
All right. So on this month's Coach's Corner,
Yes.
we are going to be talking about how to survive and get past those heartbreaking deals when things don't go your way.
Yep. And without burning out too, or like losing it.
Yeah, without burning out. So
Or-
I just shared a really
Yes.
heartbreaking story that was burning me out, and you had made a good point that you were coaching me through that. So why don't you share with our wonderful agents who are watching this what your advice was to me and what you would advise them when shit hits the fan?
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing, like in your particular circumstances too, was that the market shifted like right when you went on market. So you were looking at data that was very accurate, like less than 30 days old. The second you went on market to like that first 30 days, like that's when that like shift in the buyer's market, the interest rate, like all this other stuff came about.
And all these houses came up for sale out of nowhere.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, even though you were backing your information by data, the data drastically changed and it spun. So one of the best things we can do as realtors is, one, make sure we're paying attention. Like, watch what's happening. That's why we always say, at a bare minimum, any client you are actively working with, bare minimum, once a week. Once a week, you need to be pulse checking what's happening in that area. I don't care if it's a buyer or a seller. Like, if you have buyers looking in an area, you need to see what's going on in that area. Cold, hard facts. Like, do not listen to clickbait, don't listen to headlines. Like, you need to be pulling your stats so that way you know what's going on. As you started going through that and like sharing it with them, you know, that first part of it, when any client is that denial aspect, you're like, hey, things aren't working the way we want, but like, I'm here, I'm telling you, I'm sharing with you like what's really happening. Like, you're always going to get that denial. So when you have that denial phase, don't take it personally, because it's not you. You're just giving them news that they don't want to hear. So like, you have to have that wall of not taking it personally and understanding you're just doing a job, you're giving them the information they need. And then like, whatever their initial reaction is to that news, it's not you. It's never you. And then be like, okay, whatever, let them talk it out, let them yell, move on. And that's a really, really hard part for a lot of agents, is that part, not taking it personally or not saying that it's them. And then the next phase that we talked about is like, okay, what's the new data? How can you always move forward? How can you solve the problem? And you did that with this client. You said, hey, based on this and where we are, like you said, we're the cheapest price for a pool home in this area, in this zip code, yet buyers aren't coming, which tells you what? It actually told us
that buyers are not looking for pool homes in this area.
Exactly.
Yeah. The pool homes used to yield like $100,000 increase in value,
right.
And the data now is telling me that you're lucky to get maybe 20 or 30.
Yep.
And on top of that, we were learning, and we learned this together through this transaction. Yep. So you always be learning is that buyers in our area are not as keen as they used to be on having a private pool, because they're already paying these really high fees every month for the community amenities and the community pools, and they don't want to pay for the upkeep of their own pool when they feel like they don't even need one.
Yeah. The switch we noticed, and this is very particular to our location because we paid attention to data, was that buyers became extremely price conscious as far as what their expenses were monthly.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden, having a private pool that you had to maintain on your own, your homeowner's insurance was going to be higher. Like, all of a sudden, all these other things, we're talking, you know, probably $200 to $300 extra monthly from a maintenance cost perspective over like what a non-pool home in the same area would be. And buyers were like, we don't need a pool. Like, they were literally telling us that. And so that's where we had this quick switch of like, oh, we have to change topics. We have to change our methods.
So what is your advice to the agents that are watching this? What would you tell them would be the best advice when they do have a deal that goes sideways, or they were really, really counting on maybe this commission check to pay their rent, pay their mortgage, and the deal fell apart, and now they're all discouraged, and they think real estate sucks. Like, what do you tell that agent to keep the needle going forward?
I don't know if everyone's going to like what I'm about to say.
Beautiful, say it.
Because it's real estate at the end of the day.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Right.
Yep.
So, like, you can't count on one deal.
Correct.
You have to have multiple properties, multiple clients, because there's so much beyond our control. The way the market shifted in this example was beyond your control. How buyers were judging properties, how they perceived, the value of a pool home versus not. You didn't control that. You just had to deal with it. So, like, thankfully for us and for you personally, that wasn't your only deal.
Yeah. I would say my advice, because I just dealt with it and I learned it the hard way, was, Annie hit on it perfectly. You have to take your personal emotion out of every transaction. We see it so much with agents in our office, everywhere, is agents will start taking things personally, and that's when everything spirals out of control. And that's when you start having those feelings. And then, once you can control your emotions, that's a huge, huge piece. But then, like you just said, you can't rely on one deal. When you guys are writing contracts, putting listings under contract, putting buyers under contract, you can't take your foot off the gas. You have to keep going, because shit is inevitably going to happen. I lost. I didn't get. Well, I lost almost $28,000 in commission between those two deals because of the new construction that he was going to buy and the house that he was going to sell. Thankfully, I know better, like you said, and I had about 8 or 9 other deals in the works.
Right.
So I wasn't, that strapped where I was like, oh my God, I can't pay the mortgage.
Yes.
But there's a lot of agents that they'll get that big buyer under contract, and then
that's where all their energy and focus goes.
And then they don't do anything else. They stop prospecting for new business, which is a big no-no. You do that every day, no matter what, even if your pipeline is full.
Yeah.
And then they get in trouble, and then that's where they flatline.
Yep. Here's a perfect story. I actually heard this when I was at a conference, and it always resonated with me, which kept my ego in check, my, that personal emotional side was it. And, we're dealing with properties and houses, and you're like, okay, like if someone doesn't buy a house because they lost their job, like it is what it is. It sucks, but like they can move on. They have to find another job, everything like that. Take a doctor or an attorney. Like a doctor, a surgeon, for instance, he goes into an operation that's standard. He's dealing with a patient, and he could do everything that he's always done. And for whatever reason, that patient doesn't respond well and dies on him. Like just boop, dead. And that was like his third of the day. And then he has to go into another operating table and do the exact same thing, knowing that he just had a human life end on him. And he has to go and do that again.
That's rough.
Right? Like, for me, the reason I'm able to do this the way I do, and I said, like, my wall of separation as far as taking it personally, is because I'm like, no, there's other people in the world that when their jobs and things fall apart on them beyond their control, the ramifications are, like, 1,000 times worse. I couldn't imagine, like, being a doctor or a surgeon, something happening, like, and all of a sudden, oh, bad reaction. Again, nothing with you, but just that, the person on the table, and all of a sudden you're hearing a flat line. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. And then going to the next operation like it's nothing. But those doctors do have to do that. That's part of their profession. They know every time they walk into that operating table, no matter how skilled they are, they don't have 100% guarantee of, like, that person walking away. And to me, that blows my mind from that perspective of like, whoa. So I feel a lot better about doing real estate.
Yeah.
And then think of attorneys. Like if you're, a defense attorney, a prosecutor or whatever, and you're talking about people who are going to prison for life and you get it wrong.
Yeah.
What? You just ruined someone's life.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would guess in summary, I would say that the Moral of the story for your Coach's Corner this month is... Do that again?
I said, bum, bum, bum.
Annie-O being Annie-O, guys. Love it, love it, love it.
I love my little sound effects. That's me.
So, in summary, shit is going to happen.
Yeah.
It is inevitably going to happen.
100%.
What you guys need to do, and I know it's hard because it took me almost 13 of my 15 years in real estate to learn, and this is take your emotion out of it.
Yeah, be the professional.
Be the professional. Present the data and the facts, and don't take your foot off the gas so that when deals do go astray, you do have other deals that will help support your lifestyle. If you don't, that's when things are going to become a mess, and that's when you're going to blame the industry and you're going to hate real estate and say it was too hard. You agree?
Yep.
All right. So that does it for this month's Coach's Corner. And stay tuned because next up, you guys get to see our video of the month, which features our very own Booty Liquor.
Now it's time for Video of the Month. Who the heck picked this jingle? They don't pay me enough for this
So, on this month's segment of Video of the Month, you guys get to see a special guest by the name of Booty Liquor, who will be visiting an open house.
Yep.
Yo, is this bed negotiable?
Wow! Does this pool come with the house? If so, what kind of water does it take?
Yo, can this wall fit my 75-incher? I really like to watch Naked and Afraid. Yo, there's a dishwasher. Has anyone ever cooked Brussels sprouts in here? Because I'm allergic or something to that crap. Yo, does this backsplash come with the house? You know what? I really just don't like these pillows, dog. They just don't work for me.
75-incher, huh?
I gotta say, I had a harder time, no pun intended, but with recording this one because the accent.
You couldn't get your New Yorker gangster accent going, your white boy.
I lived in New York for 9 years. When I was 9 years old is when I left there. I don't really have that accent anymore.
Nope.
So if you notice as you watch that video, I have a try to whatever you call that. What is that accent? Like a thug accent, but it's kind of rednecky.
I called it wangster.
Whatever. But it's I had a southern accent with a
Booty Liquor. Yo, yo.
Yeah, I think
You just kept saying yo all the time.
Yeah, and that was the other
yo,
part.
yo,
Just
yo.
rewatching it, I was like, man, I didn't realize how many times I said yo. Yo.
I guess you didn't have any other gangster kind of phrases or extensions to go off of. So you're like, yo.
But you gotta admit though, that 75-incher comment with the tape measure, that's totally the best part. Hands down.
I like the pool comment. With you standing outside by the pond and everything, you're like, yo, this pool come with the property? What kind of water it take? That to me, that's my favorite part, hands down.
Yeah. I think
so...
the other good part about that video shoot was the day before, I had my barber do a good lineup on my beard. So if you actually watch it again, you'll see I have that perfect, what you call it, wangster.
Yeah,
I have that perfect wangster look with the clean, white boy beard or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, it worked out really, really well.
Sideways baseball cap and everything.
Yeah. I don't know who came up with the name Booty Liquor, but,
kind of like it.
He does exude that of a douchebag. So, it kind of works. Maybe we should have called him Douchebag Daryl. I don't know.
Douchebag Daryl.
Yeah. Yeah. So if whoever made that name, maybe Douchebag Daryl. But anyway, that concludes this episode of the Closing Time Podcast with Jimmy B and Annie O. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love y'all. We love to see any comments, feedback in the comment section. We love to answer you and converse with you guys. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.